Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to Life of Love. We're so excited to have you returning and sharing these episodes. And as always, we have a message that's going to center you in your life of love and bring you some messages about what you can do to increase your vibration of love in the world, and how you can show up as your best self and just live your day with the highest possible outcome. And my guest today, she's been about living a life of love for over 20 years. She's been developing her practice and her healing methods. And it's just a wonderful story. She has a legacy of healing. She's been dedicated to enriching the life experience through energetic awareness and the emergence of body, mind, heart, and soul for over. She has created the Shiva Method, and all that she has done through movement and energetics and energy centers is centered around joy and love. So without further ado, I would love to welcome and introduce Fran Bailey to the show. Thanks for being here, Fran.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it. Message is about that, and however we get that, we share it with everyone. So, yeah, my story is pretty interesting one. I as a child, I grew up with a lot of performing, dance and music and art. And my mom was a dancer. My dad was sang, but we also grew up in a metaphysical home, which means that we believed in mind over matter and very positive thinking, and so but dance was my way of life for many years. It was like how I could communicate, how I could reach the spirit, how I could use music and the body to express. So it was always a message in clear communication and with love, and every kind of movement, any improvisation. There's always that marriage of the two. And so that to me was like the ultimate truth of communication, right? So we have movement, we have truth. And then I taught for many years at a Montessori school, and there was a person that told me that I could read energy, and I said, really? What's that? So he was from South Africa, and I worked with him for many years and trained with his trainer, Rosenbrier. And so that opened up a whole nother world for me, which I actually knew as a child. I had something, I just didn't know what. Dreams would come true, and I was very aware of the energy, very psychic, very clairvoyant. But I kind of ran away from it because I just didn't know what it was. And so they'd kind of try to find me, all these guides, and I would go run away. And then I had children, and then they found me. So it just was a path that just went, okay, now I can look at this, and I have to look at this seriously, because here we go. And so basically, it's if you think about if you've been here many times before, all that system, all that healing system of many years of a healer, which I think I was, sort of just came forward and said, oh my God, that's it. So I started training, and then worked for Alliance Institute for Integrative Medicine in Cincinnati for 12 years, and then started my own work, got into deep meditation, got into more of a deeper throw into the intuitive side of me, and then I started my business in 2002, and it was called the SHEVA Method, and it stands for Seeking Harmony in Energy, Voice, and Action. So it's sort of like the whole kind of, that was channeled to me, and I went, okay, yeah, right, okay, let's do this. So I think during COVID, I really sort of understood what the full picture was. The whole kind of method sort of came together. I studied energy, studied movement that could help people run energy on themselves. So I would teach them about acupressure points to find their own energy, all the chakras. So I'm always working in the chakra system. whether it's energy, whether it's meditation, whether it's movement. And so he designed a technique of movement that could help people find the meridians, find the flow of energy in themselves, and then basically sort of say hello to their own body intelligence and understand that the body doesn't lie.
Mm.
And that there's all these different messages. And if we listen, then is it the mind talking or is it the body showing? Is it the mind showing us or is it the body talking? It's one of those both and. And so I was kind of dedicated to that, to help people do that. So, and then I studied the Enneagram, which is a study of personalities, designed by a man named Gurdjieff. It's Russian, in the late 1800s. And he actually studied movement all over the world and saw that we all have either a mind type, body type, or heart type, but we're one. So he would choreograph like a Sufi thing. He did this famous movement, and since then, of course, it has advanced, and it's not as much in the body as it is in the mind, understanding the personality type. If, for instance, if we're a head type, we're going to think through our heads all the time. If we're a heart, we're going to go into the heart. We're going to be emotional. If our body, we're going to be, maybe our body is like resisting something, So, but we're all type of, we're some heart, some body, and some mind, or vice versa. We just tend to go to one more than the other. So in the full,
Oh, just to interrupt, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just wondering, like, being brought up in a household metaphysical, and you were taught to move, and you had permission to move through your body. And I was just curious, when you started studying the enneagram. Enneagram, thank you.
Hard, it's a hard.
When you started studying the Enneagram, did you come at it through your body more because of your experience, or how did you absorb that information, and what was your type based on, do you think your childhood affected it, or is it just innate?
Well, I think it's innate that, it's just how you see life. It's like, that's your basic, how you see it through that avenue, whether it's the heart, the mind, or the body, but you're always going to go in that direction. Interesting you should say that, because as a heart person, I'm a heart person, so I feel the energy because it's movement, and I know what's happening when you come into the room, and I kind of know all these things. But at the same time, I had to understand my own issues.
Right. And that's what I was wondering, the harmony keeps coming up for me, and all these energies coming in, everything that we're going through in the planetary system right now, there's harmony is so important, and we're just a little microcosm of everything that's going on around us, right? Like we're in it just as much as anything else.
Exactly.
And so, I wanted to talk to you about the harmonics of it all, and lead me down that road a little bit about how, because we can be out of harmony and that's our norm. So how do you even start to figure out what to harmonize?
So I'll give you an example of myself. Okay. So as a heart type, they want to help. They're helpers. And obviously I do that all the time. It's a very natural thing, but they can over help. They can go out of their bodies and say, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I'm going to help you, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. And you just get burned out because you're not coming back to your own needs. So the more you go out, you keep thinking that you're going to get better when you keep helping people, but in fact, you don't, because you're going for the wrong reasons. That's number one, because you want to be loved. Mm-hmm. That's number two. Number three, what I learned was through the body that I would impose my energy on someone that may not want it. cue, back out, look at what's missing in you, and then look at it and figure it out. And if you the blame and shame or whatever, I mean, the love is, I obviously can do that pretty well, but it's just knowing your boundaries and knowing that it has to come from within, even deeper, not from out in.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh, sorry. It does. It totally does. But it's very hard when it's your tendency to love. I mean, I know I'm a generator, and I will empty that bucket, and I'll just be like, and it's interesting because you go through these stages where you're like, I'm setting this boundary, and but everyone around you is used to you showing up in a certain way, so that boundary is constantly.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
relate to what you're saying so very much. And always people reflect what you need. And when someone is doing something that you're like, whoa, that's really affecting me, that's just because something inside of you that you've got to work on. I mean, it's
Right.
that simple, but it's really hard when you're in it because you want to project it onto somebody else.
Right. And there's a it's so important, as I think, as you talk about harmony. I think there are more and more people that are waking up to, what that means, and also that place of really sharing love and knowing what it is. And then they don't have the boundaries. And then, just like you said, it just goes wacko because they're empathic. So that's where the energy thing comes in. They begin to understand their own, way of being empathic to other energy, and they start picking up everything. And part of that consciousness is to know, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
when do I say no? And I have permission to say no, because I'm not doing anybody any good if I'm not present to this.
Right, to your divinity, and
Yeah.
honoring what your needs are, and tuning into yourself. Like I always say, like you're your own best friend. Like
Right.
have that consciousness about yourself that you would extend to somebody you were caring about.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we have all these paradigms about how love should look.
Right. Right. So, as an interesting technique, when I'm working with women who have given too much, mothers, what I have them when they're really kind of like, I don't know where to go. I don't know. I've done it. I'm given what I can. I'm whatever, and I'm burned out. And I said, I want you to do this every day. Lay on the floor. Put your hands right here at your heart, your fingertips. You run energy into your heart chakra. And you say, what do I need to do for me today? And you say it 3 times. And I don't care if you cry. I don't care if nothing comes out because you've given so much. There's going to be something. You do that every day, you're going to start getting back to yourself. So there's this possibility of finding that truth and that love within yourself.
And I love that you bring them to the container that is
Yeah.
it is in them.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's a great tip. And that's
great tip.
so good.
Yeah.
And that segues to a question I wanted to ask you about what does it mean for you to co-create your life? You talk about this and I think it's part of your book too, but it's a central theme that I noticed in your things about co-creation, and what does that look like to you? And how do you explain that to somebody who has no idea that this is possible?
Well, I think co-creating, we are one. And of course, nature is part of a co-creation and part of that element that we live with and by. And that is so powerful, so much bigger than us. And you're co-creating every day, actually, if you are centered in your body and focusing on what your body is feeling, knowing, hearing, and seeing. So those are all part of the process. So, nature, God, higher self, coming back to presence, being okay with your inability at times to function. Sometimes that happens, and so you slow down, and so you're listening. So the co-creation is part of listening to the aspects of all of yourself, all aspects of you, and so they blend into one, and then that is the co-creation, really.
Wow. So that, to me, that just triggered, my brain was like, woo, like that gives you the harmony when you
Yeah.
can co-create and you can be present and just know that everything is there to serve you. Like every little, like I'm hearing the birds in the background. I think it may be at your house.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I hear the birds, I'm like, yeah, that's my spirit. That's my soul. My spirit is connecting, to the higher realm. So their little melodies are there to just elevate my frequency. And so, I adore that. I adore that message. And it's so pertinent just to be present. That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then, did you want to share about what you opened your book up to a page? Did you want to share that now?
So
I
usually
love it.
it's funny when I have clients or um, I do one of these sessions or whatever. I usually hold the book. That's the first lesson of this book, is to hold it in your hands and then run your energy into the book, so that the experience of each page becomes what you need to hear, what would be appropriate for you to hear at the time. So it's just, it's a quick read. It's by your bed. You just pick it up when you need to and went, okay, maybe I'll look at that. Maybe I'll look at that. Yeah. So it's a
Mhm.
very, it's called Emergence, and it's full of color. So I worked with all the chakras. So it's a teaching of all the, way. Teaching of all the chakras, what their function is, how to apply it. I mean, great pictures. That's the first chakra. That's survival. It's just, so anyway, it just goes on, and each color is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, violet. And that's how I run my energy. That's how I run an energy into the organs to balance them. So this is, I need my glasses. So this page I pull, and this is green. This is the heart chakra.
Which, I love. That was just
Yeah.
perfect because
I didn't know. Okay, well, let's see. So this is I love this quote, and this is how I grew up. I grew up a Christian Scientist, but I don't practice it, but I use her philosophy and her brilliance. And she was, again, a theosophist in the late 1800s and designed this religion herself because she was dying, and she channeled Jesus basically. And so this is her quote: "Divine love has met and will always meet every human need." And that's always in all of the churches. It's a very famous church in Boston. Okay, so this is about universal love and listening to the heart's intelligence. Universal love. In order to be loved, to love and be loved, we must create a level of vulnerability. Through recognition of the ego, we can let go and open the heart to experience compassion and the human condition. With this recognition, we will be capable of experiencing the oneness of humanity. When have you felt a universal connection? While this experience might differ for each person, it's important to know for yourself and how and when this occurs. Experiencing this divine connection is part of the joy of being human. And this is a poem I wrote. Listening to the heart's intelligence. Ever-present love penetrates the heart, body, soul, spirit, and personality, feeding the conscious self vitality, serenity, and peace. Love gives life and vitality to everything we do. There is no limit or judgment in love. Love opens the heart to what really matters. Love makes no demands. Love heals and assists in transcending negative thought in ourselves and others. When we are out of resistance to love and we surrender to the light of love, the energy of love will permeate us and reflect out to those around us. Love reflects love.
So just beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
So my question to you is how we have these so many things that tell us what love is, or there's so many paradigms that we have to work through to get to what love really is. It's not a diamond ring, it's not a promise, it's not what anyone else does, it's what we are. And so sometimes it's hard for people to get there because they have to find it in themselves first. And that's always the hardest thing to do, is see yourself. And sometimes we can see our love reflecting on someone else. But what kind of signs or symptoms would you tell somebody that they're close? Or do they just need to say, God or whatever their belief system is, show me love, I'm ready to see it? Like, what would you say, just dipping your toe in the pool, for someone who's just feeling so desperate that they don't even know what really love? When you describe love like that, they're like, I just can't even, like, life has knocked them down so much.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
So what I would say, I would ask where the resistance is.
Mm-hmm.
And letting go of fear. So the resistance might be that they were so hurt that they can't open it. They just have to. They just have to hold on. And to me, if they come to see me, what I try to explain, that trust, faith in themselves will bring more joy. I don't mention the word love.
Mm-hmm.
Because those that know it. Those that resist it don't. They don't want to. It's too big for them. So that trust and that ability to believe in change is what I would suggest. Mm-hmm. So in this work of either energy work or meditation, or you have to hand them tools, but they have to take it, because it doesn't mean anything if I do it, because it doesn't mean anything. So if you give them the right tool, then it will unfold. They may describe it very differently.
Mm-hmm.
But some people think that they're compassionate, but do they feel, or do they think compassion, then feel? See, that's where the Enneagram comes in.
Nice.
So my husband and my daughter are head types, and I always say this is really important. What do you think you might be feeling? Because a 6 is all about doubt and questioning, and so it's hysterical. So every time I do this, like, So they contemplate through the head first, and then they get to the feeling. So it's a
It
matter.
it just sounds so alien to me because I'm so not that way.
I,
Like I can't even I'm like, I just gotta sit with this. I can't even make a noise about this right now.
did it answer your question?
Yes, yes. So somebody's feeling that way, you give them tools, you give them hope, and you encourage them to find joy, sparks of joy, because that joy is going to raise their vibration just a little that they can feel the potential. And I do believe that, people who have been, there's all kinds of trauma and there's all kinds of, there's things that we carry with our genetics that we don't even have a conscious memory, but it's in our subconscious. So,
Yes.
you have to have compassion, like anything you're feeling, like people close their hearts off because it hurts so bad. But
And
then, well,
very,
go ahead.
that's very real. And that's very evident. Evident. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Hmm. Right. So,
I just think it's especially with COVID and it but on the flip side, there is this moment. It's like a child, like a 2-year-old, when they're just about to make some huge transition. There's this kind of fight about I don't want to let go. I don't want to. But once they get past that, whatever that is, that stage, and then they catapult to the next. It's the same principle. So there is this agitation before I think there's a submission.
there's no change without disruption, like
Right,
so many things.
right, right.
And
So
we want to be comfortable, we want to predict, our headspace wants to know what to expect. And if you open yourself up to the vulnerability of just knowing your pure love, that's tricky. It's raw.
it is tricky.
Mhm.
There's a oh, I'm going to read this if you don't mind.
Not at all, not at all.
So this is something I wrote in 2020. This is where I believe that people could make the transition if they're willing to. And I think there are a lot of people that are becoming very conscious quickly and they don't know what to do with it all. So they're waking up. Imagine if we could let go of that voice of harsh judgment coming from us or around us. Imagine gravitating to a higher love, releasing false and superego attachments. Imagine developing a new way of thinking around our personal and worldly theory of truth. Imagine redefining our truth and the significance that would have in our daily life. Imagine less suffering and more joy as we build a new world in one love. Imagine seeing, feeling, hearing, and knowing that. So
That's perfect. I mean, because things really got turned upside down. No matter where you stood on this or that,
yeah,
we were shown the complete dichotomy of our society, of our politics, of our healthcare. Like every single thing was polarized, right? And so there's judgments on both sides. And then all of a sudden it got to the point where I was like, who knows? Unless I see something with my own eyes, I don't know anything. And maybe I might have even like put my opinion on what I saw. Like I could look at the same thing and with a different perspective and see a different outcome because our minds will do that, right? So I started just releasing any kind of knowing. I was like, who knows? And I just started saying my intuition says this. My knowledge is what's most important. If someone's going to ask me, I'll share my perspective. But, it's just like you got to that point where you could go down all these rabbit holes and you could make yourself crazy. And I think that a lot of people got to that point of, I don't know anything. And none of these people that are talking about what we should do seem to know anything either. So we got to this point, like this whole consciousness, our mass consciousness was like, I don't know. And that was scary, but it was liberating at the same time because
I think that's the whole point. I think that's
Mm.
just, we're now in that aftermath of it. And there's a chance, there's an opportunity to have now go. It's like that, okay, let's make that change. Let's make that shift. And so, because, even saying hello to the unknown is part of the submission and accepting that we don't know, but we know love.
and there's a translation that corona means cleanse. I don't know if you've seen that. So
Well, I'm not surprised. That was pretty massive.
that's a big cleanse.
Yeah.
And it was not a coincidence, and we needed that. There's certain people that we needed to be shooken up and have time. So I'm glad we're on the other side of it, and now we get to do this kind of work to illuminate what can be. Like you said, imagine,
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely I'm definitely on that road of light always. And the more I do this, the more I want to share that. The more, um, not necessarily not judging who doesn't want it and pushing it. It's more like it's just there if you want it.
And
And
I think living in that vibration is a testimony, and
yeah,
that's all we need to do is live at our highest vibration. And
right.
like you said, if we're repelling someone,
Yeah,
that's just their situation. We don't need to judge it.
right.
It's not personal. It's just
No,
energetic.
it's just not the time. And so the frequency in which all these things are happening is so quick. The energy is shifting so quickly. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm up again at 5 and here we go. So, but at the same time, it's like you're racing to the light. And as you're racing, there's somebody coming at you and you have to move around them because you don't want to hurt them because they're just on a different trajectory. All you can do is hold the light and there's the path. And, if you go that way, you go that way.
And I just adore. I wish I had your Shiva chakra chart. It's on your website. I wish I had that 12 years ago when I started learning about chakras, because it took me the longest time to memorize, and the color scheme, and it's just the words you use just make it so tangible.
Yeah,
Because
tangible.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so anybody on my website, franbaileyhealer.com, if you go to the bottom, it's in blue, you can do a download free of the meditation I do, which is, part of the book. It's an audio with music, and then you can have the sheet to study what the chakras mean, the purpose and all that stuff.
And so
So
I just find it lovely. I mean, if you can look at the words that you put to make the chakras tangible, if you can look at those words and just read them and see if any of them like stick, and then you think about putting energy into, like, say your throat, even if you're feeling like you're getting a sore throat, like that could be a sign that you need to open up your throat chakra. And just that visualization of putting energy there is so powerful and so misunderstood. Like, but is that typically what, when you're working with someone, you might ask them to just feel those parts and then send energy to that? And
yeah, so if someone works with me privately, either on Zoom or in person, I will read their energy with my eyes closed, or I'll get a hit before I work with them. I'll already see it. And I'll see kind of where the energy isn't, or where it's locked up, or, they're out of body, or, I don't know. Just depends on each person.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll do a clearing. And then I'll ask, well, where is it stuck? Where was it thick? Did you find flow? Any pictures come up? Or any memories or whatever? So if someone goes to the 5th chakra and it's stuck, it's usually they want to speak, but when they're not connected to their 3rd, which is the authentic self, and they go to their heart, which allows them to speak, that is, so we go here and here and then here.
Gotcha. So they build on each other. There's a foundation.
All information goes through 7 psychic centers every hour and a half. All information that we get every hour and a half. So that center, if it's turning the other way, or if it gets locked up, or as I call the 5th chakra, you got a hairball, get rid of it.
I'm visualizing a Wi-Fi tower where all these walk around with human Wi-Fi towers. It's awesome. Get to your 5G, people. We got to get there.
Well, I mean, you got to be humorous. I have humor, funny. You can get heavy, but come on. So, I can't remember if I said this to somebody. I can't remember what I say. Oh, I don't know. It's pretty funny, but so, and that way they get it, because the laughter is like, oh, there it is, or you're going to run that pattern again. Wait a minute. It's going around your head. How many times? Okay, stop it.
Right. And that's your co-creation, is seeing that pattern. Oh yeah, it's repeating. And then you can co-create a new. Yeah. And I love how you're not saying you're healing somebody. You're saying I'm assisting them. I'm giving them these tools. I'm helping them see, and then they can work with this on their own, because that's where real change happens. It's not when you go to an appointment. You're not getting your hair done. You're working on your energetic set. You're not just sitting there getting a treatment. You are working. This is work. This is ascension.
Yes, it is. And it doesn't have to be like I have to get it right now. Sometimes it's just, okay, we're just going to touch down, touch in, see what I'm experiencing. Observing is the biggest thing. Observing where your resistance is. And what are you resisting? That is the key. I think that's really the key. And well, I'll show you. So these things I did last spring, and and I started working with Kathy last February, and I kept channeling, I'm going to be drawing. I don't draw. I don't draw at all. So I started working with Kathy, and of course she's very, very, connected. And she said, well, my guys tell me you're going to be drawing. I said, stop it. Okay. So I started drawing. I did mandalas for each chakra.
Oh, for your chakra. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so this is 1. To feel safe. Safety and survival. So these are all channeled. I got the pattern, and I did all the colors. And the most amazing thing is that my dog was ill. And I would put these on the floor in my studio. And this took me months to put the energy. So the energy's in this color.
Mm-hmm.
And he would lay on them. And I went, I think nature, animals, he didn't see color. Animals don't see, dogs don't see color, but he could feel. So my animals would work with me with patience. My cat would get on the table. Mm-hmm. Now she's getting really weird. Okay.
No, I love it. Yeah. I love it. So
he would come in with they would be here, but he would lay on these. So this is the 2nd to create. This is the 3rd to release fixations.
Oh my goodness, so good.
Yeah. This is the 4th to accept and receive love
Oh, yeah.
and be loved. This is the fifth, to clearly communicate the authentic voice.
And it has the heart color in it because you
Yeah.
need your heart to express. Oh, so lovely.
This is the sixth. This is to integrate, connect mind, body, and
Nice.
soul. Third eye. And then this is the seventh, to know, recognize of innate wisdom.
Oh, and we've got the goddess energy of the pink and purple.
This is in the book. So each one of these, this is the cover of each chapter,
Oh,
the color. So that's that.
that's
So,
amazing.
so the I had clients look at it. I said, "What are you drawn to?" So we know immediately where that's. And I don't tell them, but it's massage. People can put it under their table. People who are almost to get them in line. I worked with a football player, 6'6". Of course, I don't have a table long enough, but I put these underneath the bed to get him blind, to get an injury. So
you lined him up in order underneath his bed to balance. Okay.
Yeah.
And the energetics of it. I mean, we are so basic in our understanding of energy and how we can move things with our energy. Like, it's so basic, and I'm very encouraged by what you're saying, and it's not new to me. Like, I have a friend, she loves crystals, and she has put the energy of the crystals onto a picture of the crystal, and that's how she uses crystals to heal. She doesn't even need the actual crystal. It's just the signature energy of each crystals is in the actual picture, the card, which is, what you're doing. You're putting the energy of the chakra into the card, and
yeah,
it's just intention and coming at it with your pure heart to put it on there.
Yeah.
And you have to be responsible, right? Because if you were going to say, well, I'm going to put hatred onto this rock, and you put that rock into a park, you're projecting hatred. Cancel clear, right? We don't want to do that. But I mean, you have to be very aware of how you're using this with your intention, because all of it's a very pertinent and potent things.
Yeah, it is. It is. And so the other thing is, again, with the tools or this system, everybody approaches it with their own unique energy, which is really important to know that whatever they create around this is theirs. So that they're actually creating it, so that it becomes that co-creation, that they're doing it, so it sustains itself. It's just as if, how do I explain this? If I'm running energy on somebody on the table and my hands, like my feet become my hands. So I'm dancing in the body, actually running energy in the body into the cells, clearing the injury or putting energy into the injury to heal it, whether it is, so the cells react to the energy I'm putting in to the body. The body remembers, that the patient's body remembers. And so there's an alignment, but when I back away, it's theirs. Because really, for a healer, it's important that you know your boundaries. Again, what you said, you don't want to impose, you don't want to do any kind of negative. So I have to be really clear before, middle, during, after, so that I'm not projecting.
Right. And that might have been why you were scared, and it took you, for a long time to get to where you are were open to it, that you had that man from South Africa come in and say, "Hey, I'm seeing this in you." I don't think anything's an accident. I think that it was always there, but maybe you weren't ready for it yet, or could have been dangerous for, like,
Oh,
there's it's so cool.
yeah. Trust me, I've made mistakes. I've had some dark energy come in. It will never happen again, ever, because I know. But you have to have those mistakes in order to understand what your mission is, what your full mission is, and um, you put your ego in it, it ain't gonna work. It's just not gonna work. It's just so I have to go. I get out of the way and I start channeling. I give it up and let's go, and I do it very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So some people are. It's pretty funny because a lot of people have worked on a lot of doctors, and they'll come in and say, "What the hell just happened?"
It's love.
Yeah, Fran, I feel stoned. I said, "Well, that's what they all say."
Well, it's, you've gotten things moving. You've given them that divine love,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a gift. Oh, well, I will definitely share your FranBaileyHealer.com. It'll be in the show notes, and everyone can go. You have offerings there. You have free things. You have YouTube introductory videos to work with you, or, it seems like wherever someone is, that you would meet them. So, I honor what you're doing in the world, and I'm so happy we got to connect today, and I got to hear your story, and, I just think the more we can put this out in the field, that these things are happening, this is real,
Yeah.
that, it'll stick. And please, if this doesn't serve you, if this doesn't resonate, let it go. But, I honor what you have presented, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Julia. I appreciate it, and I think you're definitely on the path to share this, and you do it well. And I think you innately